All right, Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 4, Day 1, Not Take On Me. They ditched the song title thing here. We were informed that the last episode's title was in fact a song from the game, which I should have known, but I've just never really looked at the track listings of the soundtrack for the game. Guess I'm a fake fan.
No.
Guess I don't know anything about The Last of Us.
No,
nobody accused me of that. They were just very informative, and I was very thankful for that.
Yes.
So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Unless Day 1's a song. I actually looked through all the soundtracks to make sure there wasn't a Day 1 track. There was not any that I saw. So definitely let us know if you know of one.
Yes.
But yeah, the first 3 were all song titles. This one is not. I am assuming next episode will be called Day 2, followed by Day 3, and then we'll have one final episode, Episode 7, which we never get past Day 3 in Seattle, so I'm not exactly sure what that is going to be. But who knows? Maybe next episode won't be called Day 2. Maybe it'll be called something else. But I can only imagine it'll be Day 2. All right. So we start off here, like I had assumed in our trailer breakdown for this episode, that we are seeing a flashback of Isaac's origins. That made perfect sense to me. We've got to introduce him before he's taken over the wolves. He is part of Fedra, which I think is a change. You know, I don't know a ton about Isaac. As far as I was aware, he was one of the wolves that was fighting against Fedra, and you know, the leaders kind of got killed off, and he was the one that took over and was able to lead them to victory and kill the Fedra. So I think this might be a bit of a deviation, but I could be wrong. So please, anyone, if you know Isaac's backstory better than I, let me know. But we get Josh Peck telling some story showing how much these Fedra people just do not care about the people they're supposed to be protecting.
Yeah, they're just like so
disrespectful.
Very disrespectful, just kind of laughing and you know, about some, you know, it just shows how desensitized they are to it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's never a good look.
Well, and they also call them voters, and then when no one knows why or doesn't want to answer it, Isaac comes in and is like, because we took their right to vote from them,
right,
and we mock them by calling them voters, which I thought was great and shows his dissension from Fedra, and it's like, I'm done with these guys, and it sets it up perfectly. And this is like the rookie, right, who has no like, I don't know what the hell noise that is.
I was just gonna say, I think there's demons in the other room.
I think there's a fucking clicker or something in the other room. I don't know if you guys could hear that over the mic, but that was loud. Anyway, but you know, he's got no past sins as a Fedra agent that Isaac knows about, so he kind of takes him under his wing, so to speak, and brings him out with him to meet his contact. And then, you know, as soon as he walked out, I told Kayla, I'm like, he's going to turn around and throw a grenade in there and close the door.
And sure enough,
that's exactly what he does.
He does that exact thing. Yeah, I like that he saves this kid, but then later in the episode, we see that this guy still is with Isaac and is very, like, he's
his biggest cheerleader.
He's his biggest cheerleader, but he's kind of become like, you know, he's not cracking jokes like the guys in the van were, like the Fedra dudes were, but he's just as, like, desensitized at that point now, because he's like, you know, that Scar had it coming or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Got what was coming to him.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's, you know, kind of, it just highlights
he's
that
fully bought in.
Yeah, but he kind of becomes the same sort of just the same sort of person as the other Fedra guys.
Because, he practices kind of what they have, which is they dehumanize people.
Exactly.
And, he was fresh under the collar at that point, but now he's this hardened soldier like they were, and he just doesn't see the other side as human anymore.
Yeah.
Just, you know, something in the way.
Yes.
and they all have it coming, which I think they do a really great job of showing us who Isaac is. Now in the game, we meet Isaac torturing him. Mm-hmm. That's the first way that we meet him. Obviously, we're expanding upon the backstory of Isaac, which you have to if you're going to make him like, you know, the big bad of this show. So it's cool that we kind of are starting at the roots of him, working our way up, seeing the kind of people he has around him who are completely allegiant to his cause, and how, you know, dedicated he is to this war. You know, to torture someone like this. This is so dehumanizing, the way he has him stripped naked.
It's awful. Oh god, it's awful. Yeah, and then just like his whole spiel about the freaking pans and stuff, and you know, that really also just, yeah, I think it's good that we get this sort of like perspective on Isaac, or like a little bit more, because you really learn a lot about him in the few scenes that we get. Like, you understand how dedicated he is to like his beliefs, and where he's coming from as somebody who was around, you know, before the world ended, which those are two, you know, like you have like these young people, right, who are either born after the events have taken place, or we're too young to like truly remember a lot of the stuff of like the real world. And so the people that have like had lives, you know, before everything fell apart, I think that's a very interesting avenue to explore. And just, I really liked his whole monologue about how he was a good cook and he wanted to get all these nice, you know, pieces of equipment and everything.
Back when he had hope.
Back when he had hope, and now he's using that same thing to torture people. Yeah. It's just a really great scene too. You know, when he turns around and the guy has his hand out already and everything.
Knows, he ain't giving it up.
And he just shoots him. It's like, oh man. Brutal, really brutal. And they have this back and forth of like the he said, she said, like who started it kind of thing. Yeah. And Isaac's like, oh, I don't care, like it doesn't matter, I'm not playing that. But it's like, clearly you're both doing it though. Like it's, you're saying like, we don't normally kill kids, but you taught your kids to shoot at us, so it's like we have no choice but to kill them. And just very like, can you not see how you're also part of the problem, like kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, a fanatic is a fanatic.
Yeah.
One is a religious fanatic and another is a militaristic fanatic, right? They both have their beliefs. They are completely bought into them, and they will see no other way. So the one sees the other one as a total kook. Right? And that's just how war goes. It's all about fanaticism.
Yeah.
Anyway, and also to note here, which is very cool, in this show, every once in a while, you get actors to reprise their roles as the same character, right? You can get actors who are from the game that come in and play new characters like Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, Laura Bailey, right? Like those kinds of people. But then you get like the actress who plays Marlene, as well as Jeffrey Wright here, reprising his role as Isaac. So it's very cool when you get the exact same actor who plays Isaac to play Isaac.
Definitely.
I love to see that. So very, very cool on that, and definitely worth mentioning. All right. So Dina is pregnant. Shocker. Even if I didn't know that. Spoilers, obviously, for the game. And I am going to try to do this. This is something I had thought about before. Even though I kind of already fucked up a bit. And I think people would already know from this channel at this point that we talk about spoilers. But who knows? Even this might be the first time you ever came across the channel. And you're like, okay, I'm here for spoilers, but not spoilers for the game. So I should preface this always by saying that we are going to talk like spoilers for the game. But I will try my best to not divulge any like big things. And if I'm going to, I'll either do warnings or save it for the end. But I kind of already said the Isaac thing, which I don't know. I feel like he's already being set up as a big bad. So it's not really much of a, a spoiler to know that he kind of becomes that. But yeah, Dina's pregnant. Even if I didn't know the games and everything, I feel like I probably could have guessed. Just based on the fact that anytime we see a girl vomiting in a show, especially when she's kind of used to what she's already been seeing, it's like she's pregnant, right?
Usually an indicator.
And then when they're in the like pharmacy and she's looking and she's like, hold on, I gotta pee, and then she's looking at something off camera. It's like, come on. That's a pregnancy test.
Yeah.
I mean, I really feel like it's very, very obvious. I think everybody at that point would be like, okay, she's taking a pregnancy test, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't get
so,
to view this show through that, like...
Well, yeah, I think at that point when you're like, oh, I what you were saying, like, last episode, where it's like she's vomiting and we don't know why, I think most people probably could infer that she might be pregnant, but not necessarily everyone would pay attention to it. Like, some people might just be like, oh, she got sick from whatever. But I think this episode, like, the peeing scene, I don't know what else you would really take that for. She's in a pharmacy and they're, like, purposely... Like, she's saying that after seeing something on the shelf, so...
I think that
I think it's pretty obvious. But you don't know if it's positive or not, I guess.
Sure.
But
suppose. I mean, if anybody's taking a pregnancy test in a show,
usually it's
they're
like,
always going to be pregnant.
They're pregnant.
I would think that a lot of people would take it as the wolves are so brutal that them... executing a child at point blank range is so monstrous that even though Dina has seen such terrible things, it makes her vomit. So I would not be surprised if people never thought pregnancy for a second.
Right.
Because it is so monstrous.
Totally.
That I feel like most people would vomit no matter what they've seen. So I wouldn't give shit to anybody for not catching that. But the pregnancy test thing off screen, I don't know what else that could possibly be. I guess maybe somebody could be like, she's a drug addict or something, but I'm going to take a piss.
Maybe?
I mean, come on. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And so, okay, there's definitely some changes. There's definitely some things that have been shuffled around. There's some omissions. Right, because Tommy did not leave before them and are probably on the way as we speak. Things have been flipped a bit here. Events have been changed, right? Like, in this episode, they should have come across Tommy's horse, who's dead. Showing them that he is there. We also get the indication from the radio that there's like a single male shooter, which then cues them in on, like, that's probably Tommy, stuff like that. Like, that's all going to be changed and gone here, which is interesting. But this is very much like, I would say, Dina and Ellie's romance episode.
Yeah.
Almost like the long, long day for them. And, or long, long day one. But yeah, I think it's really cute. I can only assume that in 2003 that Pride was pretty big at that point. Because I don't remember when Pride really became like kind of a bigger thing.
I mean, definitely on the West Coast, like places like Seattle and like Portland and a lot of like California. I think that was, it's always been a little bit more progressive in general. Like, so I would assume that was, I don't know. I don't really know when it started to become like a bigger thing, I guess.
What month is Pride in?
I should know this.
Is it February? Or...
For some reason, I want to say it's like May or June. June was the first month that came to mind, but I actually don't know now, and I'm like, I feel embarrassed.
I don't know, but it's obviously the outbreak happens in September, and I don't think it's around then, but it doesn't matter.
No, I thought it was later.
I think it's really cool to have a show that focuses pretty heavily on LGBT characters, and to have kind of this representation of Pride from our world, but it's something they don't know anything about. That they didn't know that in the previous world that there would be love and acceptance for them in some circles, as they're kind of just used to whatever world they live in with people like Seth and whatnot. So I thought that was a really like cool little thing that they threw in, where it's just like they're like, oh, they love rainbows and it's accepting.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell this is.
Yeah, I think more than that, like obviously, like there's still homophobia and everything. You know, Seth is old enough that he's been around, you know, for a while. Like he's not.
Yeah.
So you know, like there's obviously there would still be people who had the same kind of belief systems and everything before the world fell apart. But for like younger people like Ellie and Dina, they would have no like real idea about the civil like rights movements or anything like relating to like how people's views have changed towards.
I don't know if that's exactly correct.
I'm gonna say
only
not
because
like they would have
Ellie
some
knows
idea
about like Vietnam and stuff like that. She talks about the history a bit.
Yeah.
So maybe, but I don't know about. They don't know anything about Pride clearly here. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know that she talks about some parts of history.
Yeah, I guess I was just more meaning like they wouldn't have more of an idea about Pride.
Sure, but I also think that this is really good foreshadowing for Dina and Ellie's eventual like romance completely blossoming, right? Because at this point they've only kissed once. Dina kind of makes it a thing in the tent, like, oh, just rate my kiss, like, you know, and like they're kind of trying to play around with, oh, maybe that was just going to be something that's more one-sided, and Ellie got kissed by Dina, and Dina's not really into that because she was drunk and high or whatever, but she's kind of playing with her, and then we get this Pride thing in the background of like kind of wink and nod, like, you know, they're coming together, which I thought was cute. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and I do love to, you know, Ellie's love and speaking of history, her love and her knowledge of astronauts.
Yeah.
When she's talking about the astronauts that blew up.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. Then we move into the guitar store. One of the scenes that I was most looking forward to when season 2 was coming, I was just like, it's funny, the scenes that I was like, I really wanted from this show, and none of them are like big action moments or anything like that. It's like, you know, Joel taking Ellie for her birthday. I won't say anything more. And then this guitar store thing where Ellie sings to Dina, Take On Me by a-ha. This has changed a bit. Like a little, not much. This is pretty close. The only thing that is when Dina walks in on Ellie, she's playing Joel's song, Future Days, thinking about Joel. Right? Now, the Pearl Jam issue is, of course, we talked about this previously. Future Days shouldn't exist in 2003 apocalyptic world. And in the record store in the game, you see the record that Future Days is on in the store, kind of front and center when you walk in. That's the record it's on, with the lightning bolts and everything. And then it's interesting because when Ellie's walking up the stairs, you can see a Pearl Jam binaural record instead, which is what would have been out, and I think their last record up until that point. At least that's my I was a huge Pearl Jam fan in high school, and binaural would have came out around 2000-ish, and then I don't think Riot Act came out until past 2003, but I could be wrong on that timeline. But I think that they're kind of doing a wink and a nod of like, this is the last Pearl Jam record that would have been released. I think I should have Googled what years these came out, but I just thought that was a cute little kind of nod to Pearl Jam and that, you know, the record that should be up there, but it's a record from before.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I was kind of nerding out on that a little bit as a massive Pearl Jam fan in high school, but I don't listen to them at all anymore, almost ever, which is weird. And then, yeah, I mean, this fucking, like, it's all exactly the same. I mean, they walk into the record store looks almost identical. She doesn't go upstairs, it's downstairs, it doesn't matter, any of that shit, but she finds the well-preserved guitar, and we get this iconic moment of Dina sitting by her feet. I mean, could this have been more perfect?
Yeah, I don't think so. It looks like straight out of the game. I think that the sets this episode, especially for everything in Seattle, are just like really like breathtaking, and they look so good. There are so many times that like, and even when like Ellie's waiting for Dina outside of the pharmacy, like that shot of her like on the horse and
so
stuff
good.
is so
Yeah.
great. But yeah, the take on me scene is wonderful. Really definitely like is amping up the emotion between Dina and Ellie, and just like leading to everything else that happens this episode between the two of them. I think you know, like I guess like you had said that you think that she has a better voice than
I just think okay, go ahead.
well, no, I was just going to say it's just different, but
Different.
it suits this Ellie really well. I don't think it. I don't know. They're very different, like sounding voices, but she's got such a. It's just such a lovely voice.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we had known going into this years ago when season 1 was coming or had come out somewhere around then. And I was obsessing over every little fucking detail of the show and thinking about season 2 and game 2 and being like, oh my god, she's going to learn how to play the guitar. Are they going to, you know, I would assume they're probably going to do Take on Me and whatever. And I was thinking about like, okay, can Bella Ramsey sing? And like, how's that going to go? And then here I go onto YouTube and I find that Bella Ramsey had a channel previous to The Last of Us where she plays guitar and sings, and is a good guitarist. Not an amazing guitarist or anything. She doesn't need to be. She's a good little rhythm guitarist, and she's a wonderful singer. And I was so happy when I saw that because I was like, oh, she's going to be able to kill this. Not only is she going to be able to play the guitar, right? She's not going to just have to like be off camera or like learn it. She already knows how to play, and she already knows how to sing, and she's got a great voice and everything. So I was just watching that video two and a half years ago. It was all kind of waiting and anticipating this episode. Yeah. Right? So seeing this finally come to fruition and for them to just nail it so perfectly. The shot selection, the framing, the set design, like you had said, impeccable. Perfection. I mean, this scene right here was just perfection. As somebody who loves something so much, right, you always want an adaptation that does justice to something like that, right? Something that you adore. And very often, you know, most often times you don't get that. There's so many adaptations that just, they never live up to what you hope, right? You don't get a Lord of the Rings very often.
Right.
Right? Who can just kind of perfectly adapt something, and changes that are made, they don't feel thoughtless. They feel purposeful. And I love all of this shit. Now, there are some things, we'll talk about them here soon. There are some things in this episode that I'm like, I'm not bothered by them per se, but I feel like they probably should have done something a little more, but we'll get there. But as I said, it doesn't really bother me. I don't really care. Because they do some flips of stuff and whatever, but whatever. Anyway, moving on from that, the Isaac torture scene we kind of already talked about. I like that he calls them scars. He's like, call us, you know, we're Seraphites. That's a big thing because obviously the Seraphites hate being called scars. That's like a derogatory name, which kind of goes back to the opening when it's like they call them voters to mock them.
Right.
And it's like, well, here you are 11 years later doing something similar here.
Yeah, he's just kind of become what he hated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what ends up happening, right? What's this? Oh yeah. So another really great game recreation here is Ellie and Dina stumble upon the scars massacring the wolves and hanging them, and their intestines hanging out, their symbol painted on the wall, feel her love, which every time I see that I can't help but think of like some of the later Saw sequels, right? See what he sees.
Yeah.
Right? It just reminds me of like Saw 4 and whatnot. But this scene is perfectly recreated once again. Now, in the game, Ellie is captured by one of the guys who was there when Joel was killed. Dina comes down and kills one of the guys, and then Ellie cuts herself free and goes over and kills that guy. I'm blanking on his name right now. Joshua, I can't remember. Doesn't matter. She slits his throat, but that guy's not in the show, right? So we're not going to get that. And then Leah, who is another person, would be the person with the arrows in the chest that they find in this episode. That should have been Leah, however you say her name. Leah. How's that said? Leah. That's who should have had the arrows in her chest. And then that's when they find the pictures, and the pictures show like Manny, Abby, and Ellie's of course pissed that they're all smiling, whatever. But that's like kind of how they find them, and then they find like the radio, and then blah blah blah. So a lot of that stuff's taken out. A lot of that stuff's changed around. They kind of condense that into Ellie is about to get shot. Dina kills the one guy from behind, saving Ellie. Then Ellie stabs the guy in the throat, almost like a stealth kill, or almost like the guy she kills that's part of Joel's kill crew. And then they make their way out into the tunnels. So it's a lot of changes, a lot of movement, right, of kind of events and condensions of things, but I don't have a problem with it because it all makes perfect sense for the story they're trying to tell here. And then we move into the tunnels.
Yeah, everything with that scene previous to the tunnels was really great. I think it looks like you had even commented, like it just feels like a video game scene.
Yeah.
So I think they did a really good job at capturing that kind of like vibe. And then the tunnel scene is like really intense. Yeah. This is one of the previews we got of the previous episode was with Dina counting like as she hears the infected.
Yeah.
And it becomes, well, I guess what's cool about this is that the wolves are like throwing like flares onto the ground, and one of the flares lands on like some tendril that alerts the rest of the infected, which I didn't even realize had happened until like the second shot where you actually see like the tendrils moving a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then it's just a horde of them, like just so many pour out. And from there, I mean, that's just so super intense of Ellie and Dina like getting onto, you know, the top of the train and climbing into it and all the dead bodies inside and everything.
Yeah.
That was all really like great. And you're just like, I mean, you know, they're not, well, I don't know. I guess you don't know that they're not going to die, but I feel like you're assuming like, oh, they probably won't die. But you, at the same time, I guess maybe you don't have that like luxury because of the fact that Joel has been killed already. So who knows who could die next, I guess I should say.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess if you watched the trailer for this episode, you know that, you know, Ellie probably gets bit or infected in some way, and Dina pulls the gun on her, right? If you didn't see that, then you definitely could think, I mean, with this show, you know, with Sarah getting killed in the first episode, with Tess getting killed in the second episode,
yeah, you
with
could
Bill and Frank
like,
dying
Dina,
in the third
Dina
episode,
might die
right?
here.
Like, there's so many characters that are killed off that you think, oh, no way. They're not going to be killed. Marlene in the last episode, and I mean, just in Joel in the second episode of season 2, and it just goes on and on. So 100%, that's what's so great about bold choices like this, especially in random episodes, right? You
Yeah.
never think Tess is going to die so soon in episode 2. She seems like she's going to be this main character that rolls along with him. Sarah's another perfect example. You think that she's going to be like the main character at first.
Absolutely.
Like, and then Joel and her are going to make their way through the zombie apocalypse together and whatever, and she's killed off. So I love that about this, is that everybody's expendable.
Yeah.
Nobody is safe in The Last of Us. Right? So anyway, the flares is a great touch because obviously that's straight out of the game, to see kind of the red light, coming out in the tunnels, them making their way through the tunnels. Now, the shift here, this I love. This is perfection. So in the game, Ellie's mask gets a crack in it. Dina points it out. She tries to take off her mask. Ellie grabs her, says, no, don't take off your mask. She takes off her mask. She says, look, I'm not coughing. And Dina's like, what the fuck? And she's like, I'm immune. And it's kind of just anticlimactic. Like, it's a big moment, and it makes sense in the game. And I don't dislike it in the game. Don't get me wrong. But for the show, for the drama's sake, this way they do it, of her just getting a crack in her mask, versus Dina's about to get killed. And Ellie has to save her by putting her arm in front of her.
Yeah.
And then we get this great line later where she says, I would die for you. But that's not what's happening here. Or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But the fact they made it Ellie saving Dina, and that's the way she finds out, and then she has to pull the gun on her. Amazing. Just such a perfect flip here. It adds such great drama. Right. The only issue I have with it at all is that when Ellie doesn't change, Dina doesn't really question her much about it and kind of accepts it a little too easily.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like in the game, Ellie's a bit of a dick about it. She and Dina they're not sweet. After she finds out she's pregnant, she does not take that news very well, and she's kind of a dick to Dina. The show changes this completely. It's a very cute romantic moment. I'm going to be a dad and all that stuff. Very adorable. Nothing like the game in that way. But they're really trying to build their romance in a positive light right now and try to take some of the darkness out. This is a much lighter episode of like hope.
Yeah, well, because in the game you already get like kind of the cutesy like Dina and Ellie moments earlier.
Yeah.
That builds up their romance.
Which they cut out.
Yeah, since
library.
That's missing here, I do think that it's important to have that. And I like everything that's done in this episode with how Dina finds out and how she reacts to it. I mean, yes, she probably would have more questions, but I guess that's just the kind of thing I will imagine that they talk about, like, off screen, like when they're just in between things and such. Or maybe we'll get some dialogue in the next episode of, her asking maybe some more questions, because I think that would lead into some good dialogue about Joel and, maybe flashbacks and stuff with Ellie and Joel as far as, like, all of that goes. But, yeah, I really like everything about this. I think that it's very sweet. I think that it's very organic. I love Ellie's reaction to finding out that Dina's pregnant. I think that's super cute, and I love that she's very, like, we're all gonna be parents, like, we're all gonna have a baby. Like, she's not trying to eliminate Jesse from the picture, because, like, they're far away from their home, but, like, he's, everyone at Jackson, like, they are a community, and they are all kind of, part of something there. So I like that Ellie's, like, still thinking about that, too, which is really great.
Yeah. Another thing that's fantastic, I mean, when we were talking about set design and whatnot, everything in this episode is incredible, but seeing the Pinnacle Theater like we do, and it's out in this very dramatic moment where Dina's like, oh my god, I have to kill Ellie, and she's looking up and we see the marquee and everything. I mean, just what a perfect recreation. And there's just like, I know this is like so not important, like these stupid little things, But the fact that she like locks the door with two chair legs, like the back of a chair leg, the back of the chair with its legs, stuff like that, just like maybe some people would see that as lazy, like to just follow the game in certain ways. But to me, it's like I love seeing that shit, just stupid things like that, using a chair to block the doors. Just I don't know, I love it. I love it so fucking much. Just as this is like a dream come true. This show has been such a dream come true for me, and I can't express like well enough how happy this show makes me. So anytime we get any negative comments or I see any bullshit online or whatever, I'm almost like I feel like I'm at Ellie at this point. I feel like I'm just completely immune. I just don't even fucking care anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's so good that I don't ever have to feel like almost gaslit where I'm like, what? How could you say this show's bad? Like, is it? Like, no. Like, this is the perfect adaptation in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I don't really have any issues with it. Nothing has come out yet that I'm like, oh, I don't know about that change. That doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah.
I like making Ellie and Dina this central focus of this story. Mm-hmm. Now, the question becomes, since we only do 3 days in Seattle, and this is day 1, and if the next episode is day 2, are we really going to do this Ellie storyline for the rest of this season? Have the last episode be the showdown? And how do we end? Are we going to try to do day 1, Abby's version, episode 1 of season 3? I mean, this is something we had suggested as a possibility, but now it's really seeming like it's a strong possibility. You know, because they did show a trailer for the next episode, and it very much is day 2. Of this. So, because I thought maybe next episode would be day 2 or day 1 Abby's version, right? I don't know, man. What do you think? You think we're gonna move in? I mean, we're not done talking about this episode yet. There's a couple more things to cover, but I'm just like, are we really gonna try that? And will that work for an audience that doesn't know this story?
Yeah, I feel like it might go that way. I don't know if it'll work for people. I think that, like, it's really faithful to the game to do it that way, and I like that. I kind of like having dedicated time with Ellie and Abby, but I don't know how, like, the audience will take it because, you know, it's, like, if you kind of just, like, leave it off with Ellie hunting Abby this whole season and then we switch over to Abby's perspective, I think it could be hard for some people for sure, but I don't know.
I don't see how you don't do it now. That's the thing. I'll actually say that at this point, now that we've done day 1 and at the end of this episode she wakes up and it's day 2. They don't say day 2 yet. They will on the next episode, I'm sure, and the footage we see from this is day 2, right? I don't see how they don't do it that way, right? Because day 1 for Abby takes place during day 1 for Ellie. Mm-hmm. You know, they may break away from that, but I don't see how they do. So I don't see any other option now than to, in season 2 or season 3, to go back to day 1 for Abby. Like, I don't know how you don't do it, because we're already gonna be on day 2 in the next episode, and Abby's day has already expired. So the only option we have is at some point we have to go back to day 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's gonna happen in this season, because we only have 3 episodes left. I would assume Ellie is going to have day 2 next episode, day 3 the next episode, and then I don't know what episode 7 becomes. The showdown? I mean, but the showdown takes place on day 3's night. So what does episode 7 become? Mm-hmm. Abby's day 1? right? If it's Abby's day 1 and then episode 1 of season 3 is Abby day 2, that would be interesting, but it wouldn't be a very good climax for a season to end on Abby day 1.
Yeah.
Right? Because Abby day 1 should end with her being hanged. I think. I can't remember exactly. I'll have to think back about the events of Abby's days and when they end. I think Abby day 1 is the night is when she meets 11 Yara. But anyway. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of inevitable now that this is going to be told kind of like the game. And I just did not expect them to do that because they broke away from the broken up timeline and we went more linear. I thought we would just follow them back to back, but I don't see any indication that Abby is coming anytime soon. So moving on. So yeah, she holds her at gunpoint. There's some really good dialogue here where Ellie tells her she's immune and she says a lot of the times I wish it wasn't true. Mm-hmm. Which is like, then you'd be dead.
Yes.
You and Riley would have died.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what she's saying.
Like she thinks she should have died with Riley.
Yeah. She wishes that she didn't have to always wake up as herself again.
Is that because she feels guilt for getting everyone killed? Because at this point,
I mean,
Joel kills everyone to save her because she's immune. Everyone who died getting her to Salt Lake City, then eventually, ultimately, Abby comes for Joel. Joel gets killed. Although I don't think she knows that this has anything to do with her at this point. She shouldn't anyway.
I think that it's a mixture of like she feels like she wishes she wasn't immune so that she didn't have to have like it taken from her, that she could have helped people.
Yeah.
And also because people that she loved have been killed. So she doesn't want to be without them. Yeah.
So, yeah, good exchange here. Then she's like, and this is a tense scene too, because like I know obviously it's not playing the game that Ellie's not going to get shot, but I think Bella plays this very well, and of course Isabel Merced also plays this super well, where she's like, I've got to do this. I don't want to do this, and she is devastated. And then we get some great shit. We get Ellie going to bed and Dina watching over her and her still like very cautious about this. But then she tells her she's pregnant and there's this kind of, they have their sex moment finally, which should have happened way before, but I actually prefer it happening here for the first time. But she's like, why now? This is a great scene. Yeah,
and then Dina's just like, well, I thought you were gone, like, I had imagined this whole life with you, and then you were going to be gone from that. So, yeah, I think that's very sweet of her, and it's very realistic, too. Like, she's like, oh, I actually can't wait, like, to tell the people that I love them and to be with them.
Because, this is a great thing where Dina's sitting on the fence, and we kind of get into her backstory about how, and this is great. This is something Kaylee and I talk about here and there, is that one of the most underrepresented people in the LGBT community is bi people. It's always either gay or you're straight or trans or something, but like bi people who are like genuinely just into both sexes, like you almost never get that representation in film. It's always very black and white. You're either into dudes or you're into chicks, or that's it. And her talking about how she told her mom, like, I like boys and girls, and her mom's like, no, you like boys. And how, like, she tried to make things work with Jesse, and it's just like, he's a good guy, and everything was fine, but she just wasn't into him, and she couldn't make it work. And it's like, in this moment, when she thinks Ellie's gonna die, this is when she has the breakthrough of, like, oh my God, I wanted to be with her, and now it's all taken from me.
Right.
And almost like by the grace of God, it's given back to her in a way that she never thought possible. So it literally feels like a fucking miracle.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't act on it in that moment, it's like you're slapping God in the face for a gift that he's given you. So I think it's a really wonderful way for them to finally be together. Because in the game, they go from the dance and they stay in the library and they just, like, they have sex, and it's cute and it's good. And don't get me wrong. But to build the romance like this organically throughout, build it up, have Ellie still doubt that she could ever have her. Even though she's kissed her, she's like, oh no, she was just high. Like, and then she's like, oh, I wasn't that high. And she's like, oh, maybe there's a chance. I don't know. To keep that going, to keep that playing. And then to finally build to this place where it's because she's thought she's lost Ellie that she finally goes in and they get to be together. And this kind of solidifies their relationship because Ellie's been in love with her forever. And she points that out, like, I've always known. And she's like, how do you know? Right? Like, I hit it so well. It's like, no, you didn't. Like, Joel knew, everybody fucking knew. So for her to come in and to have that, like, Ellie's already there. She knows she's already there. And it took that big moment and this huge journey across, the country to get to Seattle. And then, boom, like, this now feels, it doesn't feel quick. It doesn't feel rushed. It feels very organic in a way where it's like, yeah, they're a couple now. And they could talk about having a baby together. And her being like, I'm going to be a daddy. And, like, we're going to have a baby. I guess Jesse, too. All that stuff. That feels earned.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's okay.
And then, how'd you like that jerky as mouthwash?
Yeah, that was gross. Yeah.
As a vegan, I guess that's probably not your choice. And the 4 pregnancies tests was cute.
Very cute.
Although in that world, those are probably worth their weight in
man,
gold.
Yeah. It would be very useful for people to have pregnancy tests.
Yeah. Over the radio, they hear about Nora. Now, in the game, Ellie goes up. She fixes the power. They have, like, this whole CB radio communication array thing that they do. But in this, they just streamline it into a walkie-talkie that they find totally fine. I don't care.
Yeah, I think
that makes it quicker.
Sense, too.
Right. Now, this is day 2. On night 1, when Ellie goes to bed and wakes up on day 2, during the night is when she has the big dream. And the dream is her memory of Joel, taking her to the museum. This is my favorite scene in the entire game, the entire franchise. So now, where is this going to happen?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe night 2 when they return and Ellie goes to bed. Maybe when she gets knocked out with Nora. Because they kind of fight and she gets thrown and everything. So I don't know where we're gonna get this museum scene, because we've now passed the moment in which it came into the game. But that doesn't mean, they can easily insert it somewhere later. There's not enough runtime left in this episode to kind of rush through that episode. Or that moment.
Yeah, no, it's still gonna happen. They're gonna give it it's worth of time for sure. It's very important, but I don't know when it's gonna happen. But it will happen. I would be very surprised if we didn't get that. I just don't see that happening.
So in the original game, Ellie can't swim, and Joel has to take her everywhere on pallets and whatnot, and then in game 2, it's revealed that Joel's taught her how to swim by this backstory of taking her to the museum. I do wonder if there's going to be a moment, because I can't remember if we do acknowledge her inability to swim. We have not acknowledged Abby's fear of heights yet. I don't know if that'll come into it. I did spot a crane in the background. When they were looking out at the city, we saw a big crane going over to a building. Awesome scene. Hopefully, just can't wait to see that, if that's in here. I would assume that will probably be in here. I don't see why they'd cut that. That's a fucking tense moment. But yeah, I don't know where this is going to play now. I don't know how we get to the Joel dream, but it's pretty simple. She goes to bed, right? She has a moment. She thinks back about it. It's not hard to insert it. It doesn't need to be there.
Right.
I just was kind of expecting it because it's, happens when she goes to bed. But I don't think it would have fit here. So I'm glad that they changed it, where we're going to go from here. So anyway, we saw the trailer for the next episode. If you don't want to know anything about that, you can shut this off. I didn't even actually take any notes for this. Because, I should say, they locate Nora.
Yeah.
At the end of this episode. And they find out where she's going to be. And then Ellie turns around. I guess we should talk about this shit. Ellie turns around and she tells Dina, like, things have changed. Like, you shouldn't come with me. Right. And then Dina says, together. Yeah. This is a big change. Because in the next one, we see that Dina is out with her. Yeah. But she does say, if you want me to go back, I will. Or something like that. Now, in the game, she does not go with her. Yeah. She does not leave the theater. I think ultimately Ellie will tell her to turn around and go back.
I do too. Yeah, I think she's going to be like, nope, we have to think about, like, the fact that you're pregnant. Yeah. Yeah, I think Dina will listen to her.
Yeah, I agree. She says together, but I think what's going to happen is I think they're going to go out. Dina's going to almost get killed.
Yeah, something's going to happen.
And she's going to be like, we cannot risk this. We cannot lose you. And they'll send them back. I mean, they could even run into Jessie.
Maybe.
Who also convinces her to go back. Yeah. That could happen. I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that. But, I mean, the big reveal of the trailer. We see some things. We see, they're talking about the basement of the hospital. Yeah. And they were like, there's not even rats. Wink, wink for Abby's story. But then we get the big reveal. This is next episode. We will be introducing spores.
Very big.
And here's the interesting thing about this. Is that we had guessed that it was going to be a climate thing. That the spores were going to be introduced here because this is like the West Coast and it's more, there's more moisture in the air and the mushrooms would flourish in that environment and maybe they like the physiology of them would change and they spread differently. But our character that we're following here, who I don't recognize, but I think she's probably talking to Nora. She is talking about it like they know nothing about this.
It's
this
like
is
it's
totally
a
new
thing.
to them.
Yeah.
Which I did not see coming. I thought for sure that the people in Seattle would have known what spores were.
Right.
But no, this seems completely brand new to them, which means that they are all evolving around the same time, right? Like Ellie just saw stalkers for the first time. Now over in Seattle, this is a new thing too.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that it's going to be new to everybody because it's going to really, it's just going to add extra stress to everyone because it's now you have to account for spores. Yeah. Among other things. So, yeah, I think that's great.
It's like, how unfair can it be?
Right. Yeah. Right. Yes. The spores are, I mean, it's one of the things in the game that you're just like, oh man, like that would be so difficult because like I know that you can like in the game it's like, oh, this area has spores in it, like put on your gas mask, but like the reality is like I don't think you would actually know what areas have spores and what don't in real life. I feel like it would be a lot harder to detect.
I think they just know that any area that is like contained is gonna have spores in it if there's any dead bodies present. And I think anytime that they go underground or they go into like a locked building, they know they're gonna probably have to put on their masks. And you can see them floating in the air. So
you can.
If you
I just
like
mean,
shine
like,
a flashlight in and you
yeah.
see them, I mean, by that point you'd probably be infected.
I guess if it's like a heavy enough cloud and stuff, like maybe you just would be able to see and know certain areas. But yeah,
we see Ellie down there and she's looking at one, and then it like breathes out spores, so it's coming out of their mouths.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? We see that the girl that Isaac talked to, the actress that I'm very familiar with from a bunch of things.
She's still a part of it.
Handaran, however you say her name. Yeah, she's still around, which is good, because she, to me, is kind of reminding me of Melanie Linsky's character from season 1. Mm-hmm. Like this additional new character. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's going to be kind of like a mini bad, like a mini big bad.
Like another kind of like Melanie type person. Yeah.
Some like a lower ranked officer on the way up to Isaac.
Sure. How
she'll play into the story, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Because the way Melanie Linsky was kind of inserted into the scene where they're at the cars with the sniper was cool, and an interesting addition to that scene, because it's just kind of faceless soldiers that roll up to give them like a face. I'm trying to think of like a place in the game where that would work. I don't know yet, but I wonder if the fight that they're in, that Ellie and them witness, is that like gas station fight that Abby and them are in. Because that should be something that's simultaneously happening that we're going to see from Abby's perspective eventually.
Yeah.
But that should be day 2, and the fight at the gas station, from my memory, is right after they leave the stadium and they go right out into that fight. And that should be day 1. So I don't see, but some fight with the wool or with the scars could be happening on day 2. I'd have to go back and play Abby's story again to see how it matches up to Ellie's story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's that.
I think so.
Anything more?
No, I think that's everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, awesome.
Yeah.
Wonderful. As always, very happy. Just such a great romance episode. Perfect execution of Take On Me and set pieces and all of that. Cutting out lots of superfluous things, like them going to the library and them having to open up the Fedra gates, and finding all the codes and all that video game stuff is not necessary. I'm glad they cut that kind of stuff out. It's cool to see when they give little winks and nods to the game, but to make it more centrally focused on their romance and their relationship, that's the right move.
Yeah, I agree, for sure.
So, all right, next episode, day 2 probably.
Yep.
But I thought this would be a different title, Take On Me, and it sure as hell wasn't.
Yeah, day 2.
Yeah. Will we see Abby? We'll see Abby again in this season. That I'm sure of. But I am pretty much positive we're not seeing her till either the end of episode 6 or in episode 7. That's the only thing that I can imagine now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of surprising, but we'll see how they execute it. They've done everything else great so far, so I trust them.
I do too, absolutely.
Yeah. So, anyway, all right. Well, that's that. We'll see you next week.
Next week.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.